All right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. And thank you for joining us for today's AMO eSolutionsGroup webinar. My name is Nick Reuter. I'm a research advisor with AMO and LAS. And this webinar is one in a series dedicated to the efforts of AMO's digital partners to assist our members with business continuity solutions during the current state of emergency and beyond. Previous webinars from our digital partners and their offerings can be found on AMO's YouTube page or on our partner pages on the AMO website. When you have the time, I would also encourage you to check out our COVID-19 resource page on the AMO website for any new and emerging developments. So this pandemic has shown that there's a need for quality and reliable digital technologies to ensure municipal business continuity. And AMO will continue to identify potential partners that offer cost-effective, proven, and appropriate technology to help you with your digital transformation efforts. We are also working closely with the province during the state of emergency, and if there are any funding opportunities that we can leverage for our digital services, we will certainly keep members updated. So some context on our partnership with eSolutionsGroup. Back in October, we announced our partnership with eSolutions as our preferred builder of barrier-free websites. Why did we engage with a website builder? Well, as you know, AMO is committed to an accessible Ontario by 2025, and we all know that municipalities are at the forefront of those efforts. Part of our work is also identifying solutions that can help members comply with required provincial standards. In this case, the deadline for public websites and web content that's coming up for January 21. There is a need in the sector, and part of my research was visiting all 444 municipal websites. And while most appear to be in compliance, there are some that still need some help getting there, particularly for those smaller sized municipalities. So if AMO were to engage with a website builder, they had to meet the requirements regarding accessibility, scalability, and affordability so that all of our members could benefit from the solution. So with that, we surveyed the membership in May of 2019 to get a sense of what was needed. And we worked with our partners at MISA on putting together some rudimentary must-haves to integrate websites, including content authority approval, the use of digital and electronic signatures, forms and payment options. But we were also pleased that there were also some suggestions from members, such as including social media integration, API feeds, polls, and other engagement tools. We had 117 respondents, and their answers made it clear that the membership wants a robust and reliable platform to either build or update their current websites, particularly for smaller members. So most of the survey respondents, about 31% at that time, identified as eSolutions clients, and were very satisfied with the platform. It offers most, if not all, the integrated features that we highlighted in the survey, but their solution is also to smaller municipalities, and they also integrate the digital and electronic signing solutions of our partners that our digital partners find ways of integrating and working their solutions together. I also spoke directly with several of our members, smaller members, that are eSolutions clients, and they were extremely happy with the service provided and highly recommended that we work with them to address the needs of the membership. So today, you will learn about an e-procurement and a form builder that eSolutions is offering to help municipalities through the current pandemic and beyond. One of the key reasons we began our digital partnerships was that we want to ensure that all of our members have access to the right digital tools to help you work as efficiently as possible, no matter the circumstance you may face. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce our presenters, Karen Mayfield and Kurt Roman. Karen is president of eSolutionsGroup and is responsible for directing company strategy, product and service development, and managing overall client relationships. She is also a principal with GHD and brings over 20 years of experience in project management, networking and business development, and overseeing a wide range of software development projects. Karen holds degrees from the University of Waterloo and Loyalist College. Kurt Roman is Director of Product Sales and Marketing at eSolutionsGroup and GHD, and has previous business and marketing experience with Qualitrol, the IESO, General Electric, and others. Kurt holds a BASc from the University of Waterloo in Chemical Engineering and Management Sciences. With that, Karen, I will turn things over to you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Nick. And good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. And you know that bio, Nick, 20 years? I'm now 30 years. I know I'm dating myself. eSolutionsGroup is extremely honored to work with over 360 public sector clients, and we're really partners in co-creating your digital transformation. We've really learned through COVID some of the things that will really help small municipalities as well as large municipalities to get services and e-payments online immediately. One of our clients, Town of Ajax, we did it within 48 hours. I'm going to show you some of these opportunities. And like Nick said, we also integrate into Notarius for digital signatures, becoming a one-stop shop for our clients. And I do have permission to show several of our websites. One of the things that I'm going to have to do is hide some of the data when I actually show you how to do imports into a financial system, but I'll certainly walk you through that. We're also going to show you bids and tenders and e-procurement system. It really not only helps people within the municipality to be far more efficient, but it also helps the vendors to do everything online, which is a CETA regulation, depending upon the value of the RFP or the tender. So I'm just going to go into Ajax, and Ajax is a site that we built. A question may be, can you use Form Builder if we did not build your site? The answer is absolutely yes. So don't worry about that. I'm actually going to show you Ajax, but don't worry that if you don't have a site with us, you could still do it. And City of Ottawa does this as well. I'm going to show you the public side. They're doing everything, building permits, burn permits. It can be taxes, utilities. It really can be donations. Tons of our clients are doing donations. And as I looked at the people that are on the line today, 40% of you do use Form Builder. You may not use it with the e-commerce solution. So I'm going to give you a quick example. Let's say my taxes were $2,500. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit more than that. What we do with them for the service fee. So you can have a service fee to cover the fees of the credit card companies. So it will automatically calculate that. They put in their tax roll, their name, et cetera, et cetera. But some of our larger municipalities, we're actually integrating into back-end systems to pull that information. So it could be a financial system such as JD Edwards, SAP, Great Plains, and on and on and on. So then it pushes it back directly once the payment is made. Some of our other clients, the smaller municipalities, all they do is they'll do an export, and I'll show you that, and then they update it into the financial system, depending upon if it's a bottom line number or not. I'm going to go into the back end, and I'm actually going to show you. I've already pre-logged in. This is Form Builder, where you can simply add questions. Very, very simple. We have a lot of clerks, administrators. It could be parking. You do not need to be a programmer to do this or set up the e-commerce. So remember, I showed you from the front end, the taxation. This is the way it looks at the back end. And obviously, I'm not going to change anything because I think Ajax loves us and I want to keep them loving us. But you would just ask a question. You could then validate the answer. What I mean by that, if it's supposed to be an email, you say email. It would automatically do that validation for you. Now, when it comes to e-commerce, finance really wants to ensure they know where this is allocated. We call that GL accounts. It can be a GL account or at least a prefix. That prefix will be pushed back to the payment gateway, which would be Moneris, Bombera, or Paymentus, and it also would be in the reports. Now, if we don't do the integration, I'm going to show you what happens with the reports. So for example, on taxation, you need the payment details. So you could then do, I'm just going to say 2019 to 2020, and I'm going to generate this report. We have the GL account, we have the amount, we have the person's name, and then they'll go back into the financial system and they will update, say it's VADM or VADM or Vailtech, that this person has completed this amount for their taxes. Again, please note, if we automatically integrate, it would be done automatically. So I'm just going to close that one. I'm going to open up another one, and I'm going to show you another example. Again, what they're doing on this one, and I'll show you from the public side, is, hey, it could be freedom of information. This happens to be permits, but remember, it can do anything. So I could select the permit type that I want, and as soon as I select it, I can put the information in. When I continue, it goes to the payment gateway. I put in my credit card. It validates that credit card, and at night, it puts it into your bank account. I'm going to show you this particular one where they change the payment options into PD. Again, that can be a GL account, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it may be. In the report, typically it's just a transaction summary because you do not need to know every piece of information. In an example like this, we can actually integrate into a work order system. Again, that could be Amanda, it could be Tempest, it could be whatever. We also have an identifier that is pushed to Moneris or Bombera, etc. You can do refunds through our system. We suggest that you do refunds through our system, because then when we push to financials, it is accurate. You get a list of everything that is completed in the system and who did it, and you can also email them if you want to. And in the options, you can actually, in the payment options, you can send a PDF document of the results. If you're doing donations, we have a CRA tax receipt that also goes out. Obviously, the government obviously will change taxes and everything like that. If you have a different GL for taxes alone, you can run a report on that. So given we don't have tons of time, that is what I was going to show you on e-commerce. Ajax, we set it up in 48 hours. Super, super simple for our clients to be able to do on their own. And if they have the integration to Notarius for digital signatures, it's another click of a button. So I'm going to go on to the bids and tenders. So basically with bids and tenders, when people create an account, we actually service our bids and tenders in 2 ways for our municipal clients in Ontario. Different when we're out west. In Ontario, we have a vendor pay model. In that vendor pay model, it costs our clients $0 for all of the modules. Vendor, so it would be e-procurement, it's going to be contract management, vendor performance, and vendor evaluation. We only charge for training. Some of our clients, Elliott Lake, for example, did not want to go vendor profile, so the vendor pays, because they have a lot of local, small people or small vendors. We have a license model, and Elliott Lake chose to do the license model. Either model is fine with us. Basically, people will put in their organization, emergency vendor. So this is very important. If you're an emergency vendor, let's say you have a water main break, in the back end of bids and tenders, you can do a search and export information for your emergency management planning. They can also say what they're interested in. We would do web development, digital transformation. They also have the ability to have all of our clients. So they don't have to register per client. They can have all the clients, or if they're only interested in yours alone, they have the ability to do that. So I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to show you some of the beauty. Remember, your doors are closed right now. You cannot accept building permits or anything that they have to drop it in a Dropbox. Same with tenders. Well, if you go to e-tendering, I'm actually working on a tender that is due really, really soon. I'm a vendor right now. I'm going in and I'm going after one for a mobile app. I'm going to resume my submission. So this is from a vendor's perspective. I do everything online. I actually acknowledge the terms and conditions, and I have authority to bind the corporation. And I can never submit my bid. I just tried, but it says, I'm sorry. We get 100% compliancy on our bids because they cannot submit unless their bid is 100%. It actually shows you where to fix it. It also gives you the ability, I'm just going to go back to my bids, to do a very cost analysis. So I might have, a bid that's huge. And basically, I have a bunch of fields I need to fill in for cost. At the end of the bid, it will immediately do the cost analysis. So when you look at one that has a lot of tables, and this is Lethbridge, I can go in, put my references and things like that, but I also can put my information in per table cost. So it could be for a server, or it could be for vehicles, or it could be for landscape, and landscape has a lot of different ones. So you can see each tender can be completely different. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing mine, and Kurt is going to show you the back end.
Perfect. So I'm going to show you the back end, pretty much how you would come and post your bids to your particular branded page, much like you're seeing with Halton Hills here. And I'll walk you through that process on creating your bid document and how that bid will get out to 100 to 110,000 vendors across our platform, and go into that detail. So first, I'd like to start by logging in. So this is now the portal that you would log into as a buyer. I have a dashboard. There's two dashboards, a buyer view and a manager view. So I'm currently on a buyer view. I can see my projects that I've logged into, the number of projects I have, the dollar value associated with those. Do I have any upcoming expiring contracts that I need to resolve? I have questions coming in from vendors on particular bids that I have out in the market. And then similarly, I can even see a calendar of upcoming events and tasks I need to follow up with that I update and manage accordingly. And then I can even go through and see what projects I have on the go. Are there any documents coming from vendors like certificates of insurance that they've uploaded that I need to review and approve? Are there any documents expiring and so forth? I can switch over to the manager view, where as a manager, if you have multiple buyers under you, you're able to see the sort of the total project value, the deviation from budget of those actual project costs, how many projects are closing in a given day, and all the tasks associated with that. There's some capability here to see how many projects are going through different phases of that procurement cycle with each of your team members. So you're able to sit there and manage that your capacity accordingly. We have two modules in this dashboard, one for supplier performance management, which is a tool that allows us to evaluate how well contractors are satisfying the needs or the contractual terms of that agreement. And similarly, a contract management component where we house all the documents, purchase orders, and contracts associated with a particular agreement, and then even getting notifications before they expire or before warranty periods expire. So you can go out and review that equipment and submit accordingly, or go out and do a solicitation again. I can see projects that I have on the go. So you can create projects from scratch. You can copy past projects with all the information in it, and I'd like to go through that with you. I'm going to start for time's sake by going through an existing project. We have 3 phases. We have build, source, and contract. Build is where you create the bid, you define the information that you're giving to the vendors, the information you want to receive from the vendors, and how you're going out to market with that. Source would be where the vendors are now interacting with your bid. They're submitting questions, registering for the bid, submitting their bid. You're receiving those bids and evaluating them all the way through to award. And then the contract being where you're obviously doing the contract management and vendor performance management. So I'm going to go through this very quickly with you. This is where you would set up all the project details, your project name, your department, and your division. And these can be configured to meet your needs on implementation, and we help you with that. You can do public solicitations, invitationals, pre-qualifications, or if limited, if you want to track your sole source project. You can do tenders and RFPs and RFQs and whatever sort of solicitation you'd like to do, from as little as a couple $1,000s up to hundreds of thousands of dollars or higher. Right? You can define if you're doing public openings, 2 envelope processes. Are you sealing your technical to review first and then afterwards opening up your financial package? All these are configurable with very simple yes/no selectors. I can set the project details, define what trade agreements I want to comply with, and then put that out to the public, which will go into this particular example here from Cornwall as a published product, where we had a description of the document, the types of product categories are related to this, and this defines what emails go out to vendors. So every day we send tens of thousands of emails out to our vendors on our list relating to projects that have been opened up. So what this does is ensures you're getting people bidding on your projects. It increases competitiveness. We had a gentleman from Flynn District School Board who even mentioned that they saved 10 to 20% of their annual budget when they moved to bids and tenders just by increasing competitiveness. So more bids, and then if you look at the bid takers list, sometimes they're able to sharpen their pencil a little bit when they see other people are bidding. All right. So I'll go back to this this bid I'm doing over here. Sorry, to the right page. You can define the documents that you're going to post to the vendors, whether it's appendices or site drawings or specifications. You can define the submission requirements. And what Karen mentioned earlier as well is with these form-based submission processes, very like the minute after the bid closes, you could get a comparison of all the values submitted by your vendors. So if you had 20 submissions, you don't have to filter through 20 binders worth of information. Automatically, who's the lowest price, organized from lowest to highest by vendor, a tab for each of the pricing tables you had associated. Each of the lowest parts are highlighted in green. So if you want to award in parts, you could save another $50,000 or $60,000, all within minutes. So you could take a complicated 900 line item tender, instead of spending weeks reviewing it, you could get it done in a day. You can define these, and I'll go through this very quickly on a pricing table. You can copy past forms from other projects, or you can create something very quickly. And I'll spend a minute on this because I know we have limited time here. But I want to show you how easy it is to go do this. So if you could still do an upload style response where people can upload an Excel document like this, it'd be so much easier to take a description, an estimated quantity, and a unit price, and copy it in here and provide it for vendors to upload their unit price. Our system can do calculations by setting, this is a unit price. They would enter their unit price. We can add another field, insert a column after, right? We can define calculations, which would be, let's say total, where I'm going to multiply or divide or add different columns. I could multiply my quantity by my estimated price, and it automatically calculate totals, which is what you would see in this Excel document over here, what's happening. So instantly, I don't need to do copy and paste or consolidate Excel documents anymore, saving weeks of time. To go further, just to continue, you can do the same thing for specification documents. If you have a yes, no type question, or exceeds, meets, does not meet, all these sort of questions can be done on a form-based system now. And we're able to, like Karen showed you, ensure that you're getting the information you need and you don't have to throw away any of those bids as non-compliant. So it saves you time. You're not evaluating bids you don't need to. There's no risk of litigation because something was awarded to someone who may not have a compliant bid, and so forth. If you just want to do a simple upload style, you can define projects or documents that you want uploaded. It could be a whole financial form, or it could just be a project Gantt chart, right? And it's as easy as adding a field, typing it in, deciding if it's mandatory. You can set who that bid goes out to. Is it generally publicly to the 100 or 110,000 vendors we have out there? Or do you want to create a specific list to your, in this case, I have an engineering consultant list where I could allocate them and even send it out to them in addition to the general public. I could go through and define the dates and when I want my deadlines, my question periods. I can add site meetings, which could be virtual meetings these days. Then I can go through and I'll look at source. You start receiving bids now. You can see who's registering for your bids. You can handle questions. These questions come into the system instead of email, so everyone can get information back fairly and transparently. I can export these into an addendum and then upload the addendum to the public very easily. This automatically goes out to the field, and you can send emails from templates instantly from the system, so you don't have to do this in Outlook, and it's all auditable in the future. So if anyone says they didn't get the email, you can go back and see what happened. Was it sent out? You can even use these templates, so it takes seconds. You can set your project meetings. You can send reminder notifications to people. You can go through and download sign-in sheets and determine if they've come to a mandatory meeting. Or you can review submissions in this case. You can decide to make technical submissions reviewed or financial in different orders. You can go through and open that up to the public so the public can see who is submitted in place of these current public openings. So instead of ripping envelopes open when doors are closed right now, you're able to do this all digitally. You could say who submitted. You could say who was awarded. You could show the dollar values of those people if you choose to do it that way. You can go through and evaluate. And because it's online, you're able to decide which evaluators you would like to use. You can define different components. So legal team could look at something, a financial team could look at something else. I have an evaluation open here where evaluators have a different view. So all that sort of confidential information doesn't get seen. You can decide what items are going to be evaluated, the weighting of those items. What are you scoring from? 0 to 5, 0 to 10, 0 to 100. You can go through in there. You can easily look at documents. Like I'm going to go in here and just pick up business requirements because it's worth the most here. And you can see I can go in and look at documents from Gantt charts, all automatically upload. So I don't have to, again, open up big binders of information or big PDFs to review through it. I can go look at specific questions that were asked. And you can see that the questions that we asked here and whether there was an exceeds, meets, or does not meet, and the comments associated with it. I can go look at that for the next vendor. And then very easily go adjust, what their score is, right? That all comes back into this evaluation module over here. Let me get to the right one, sorry. It automatically goes into their scorecard, so you don't have to go consolidate or chase down evaluators to pull that all together. It automatically gets totaled. You can go through and update this with pricing consensus meetings all the way to find out who's awarded. And again, that some of this table isn't complete because we haven't finished the evaluation, but you can award this to a particular person or multiple people. And then you can define contract terms. When's the start date? When's the end date? And you can get a notice 30, 60, 90 days ahead of time so that you're ensuring that you can go out and solicit for that if you need to cover that service again. Like a snowplow contract, if it expires, you get a reminder notification. Similarly, even with warranties, if you want to make sure you review that piece of equipment ahead of that warranty period. You can track purchase orders and the dollar value that's been charged that particular purchase order to date. You can track documents, so you don't need to do this in Excel anymore. You don't need file folders on servers. It's all stored here for as long as you want it stored and accessible for your whole team. And then you can even go through and do a vendor performance management module where you send out almost an online survey style to the person overseeing that particular project. They're reviewing, in this case, in this example, they're evaluating these criteria and they have some scoring. They have different questions that tally up into that score. This is all zeros, so you're seeing that they're a poor performer. And as they fill that in, it would their score would go up and their rating would go up. And this is all retained on their system here. I think I have it right here, where you can go in and look at a particular vendor in your system, and it keeps a record of what they've submitted to you, how well they performed, What emails have you sent? You know, what sort of submissions have they done? What documents? Do you have purchase orders or contracts or master service agreements? All that's retained in the system, so it's not scattered across multiple systems or email servers and so forth. I think that's a very quick overview. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but I can pass it back here.
Okay, great. Thanks, Karen and Kurt. There's a lot of details I think that we need to unpack there, and I'm sure that eSolutions can follow up with any of the interested members on the points of clarification. We do have several questions regarding the bids and tenders solutions. Can you create forms to enter in different technical specifications and have these compared/scored automatically?
No, that's great. Yeah, forms are very easy to complete. You can copy and paste them in. You can import them. You can configure it any way you want. You can do math calculations on it, and it's a very easy process.
So, and I think the question kind of expanded upon that. Can you do a cost compare? The answer is absolutely yes. When you close, remember the bid is never open for anybody to see until it's closed. Once it's closed, you can do a cost analysis, and in that cost analysis, it compares vendor to vendor, but to each individual widget I'm going to call asked, who's high, who's low in each one. So if you have a multi-award, you know, a lot of landscape will do multi-award, you can do that as well. Does that answer the question?
Yep, that's great, Karen. I'm sure that person has a follow-up. They'll send it our way. Another question here on evaluation scoring. How does it handle if different evaluators have different scores for the same item? Is it average, consensus? Does it track any scoring changes for audit purposes?
Oh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I could show you, maybe Karen, if you pass it over, I could go through and show you again, but it tracks every comment, every change in value from each of the evaluators. It consolidates it. I can show you records both by evaluator or by vendor showing each of the evaluators.
And if you want to do consensus, you can absolutely do consensus as well. If sometimes what will happen, they'll bring people in a consensus and they will do that. And again, it tracks everything. By legal purposes, we have to track everything that has been changed.
All right, so I'll just very quickly show you a few items in that aspect. So again, all the scorecards are being consolidated already. I can see their sort of consolidated scores. I can go and look into the particular scoring for just this one vendor from each of the evaluators. I can see all the comments. I can export this. You know, all this can be done in a mass export for all the vendors as well. You can go through and you can look at comments, even if you're just going to your consensus meeting like this. And then after all these are consolidated prior to your or after your consensus meeting, you can go through and do that online form process again. So again, it's all consolidated, configurable to your process. I mean, the key here is if you have a process or a form you're currently using, our system's able to mirror that. We're not trying to jam your process into this software. We're making a platform that you're able to continue with your current process, but digitally with a fair amount of automation and automated analysis.
And I just saw a question about Bonfire. We think ours is way better than Bonfire. However, every time we've gone up, and we're both Waterloo companies, but every time we've gone up against Bonfire, we have won. I think part of what we're different is every single person on our team, not Kurt or I, actually come from the procurement industry and from municipalities. So they're extremely knowledgeable, even in bylaws and things like that. And Jeff, I don't know if that answered your question, but we can certainly do a comparison back and forth if you wish to do that. But we obviously think ours has way more value.
Thanks, Karen and Kurt for those answers. I don't see any questions right now. Again, I encourage folks to send their questions through the Q&A box, but I do have a couple for you guys. there are a lot of smaller municipalities that are attending this webinar. And what's the uptake like from those smaller centers in Ontario for both the e-procurement and the forms solutions? Is it significant? And have you? I'm just trying to identify if there are any champions out there that we can identify.
I'm happy to answer that, Karen.
Sure.
So we have a very broad range of customers, everything from distributed purchasing teams, where public works and fire departments are purchasing on the system, up to multiple, like dozen people on a procurement system. So that it covers the range. Again, there are a couple hundred customers on board in Ontario alone, primarily municipalities. So I think we have a very broad coverage across the whole province, and I don't think it really matters what size you are.
Yeah, so, and based upon that, I think you asked Nick about Form Builder, and every single one of our, so it's 100% that do Form Builder. And I would say, and they love it, I would say not 100% of the smaller municipalities do e-commerce, but we're literally bringing on the e-commerce because of COVID almost every single day. So they are changing very rapidly to do e-commerce. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that's great, Karen. And I would encourage any smaller municipality that is interested in that to reach out to either to Karen or to Kurt to see how that could potentially work for your center as well too. My second question is in regards to costs. What are the costs that we're looking at in terms of Form Builder and the bids and tender solutions?
Yeah, good question. So I'll start with bids and tenders. Bids and tenders, if you do vendor profile, meaning the vendor pays a profile fee per year. This is where it's different with Bonfire. That's probably a good, Jeff, difference, is that we have the vendor profile, which they pay a one-time fee for every client that we have. Then it's free for the municipalities, with the exception of training. We do have free training if they want to do videos and things like that. However, if they want to do a license, it's $2,700 for a license per year. And an example is Elliott Lake did a license, and they're all going to use one license at $2,700 in that year, and obviously they pay for training. So that's how much that is. When it comes to Form Builder, it really depends on the size of the municipality. What we did is a tiered costing. I come from a very small municipality, and I know that services, we needed it because geographically it was large. So we do that on a tiered pricing. So based upon population, we provide the pricing. So under 10,000 population, it's a $5,500 for a Form Builder. We train on $1,250. And then there's an annual cost of $1,500. Now, over 10,000 population, we have another tiered system, and I can get back to anybody over that tiered system if you want, Nick.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Karen. My final question is in regards to data governance, and there's a lot of data that's obviously going into your solutions from municipalities, and I know that it's a big policy issue right now with a lot of our members in terms of the privacy and where data is being kept. And I'm just wondering if you could go into detail about where
Sure.
our members' data is being stored.
Good question. And yeah, it's FIPDA, et cetera, et cetera. So obviously we comply to all that. What we have is in Form Builder and in bids and tenders, we have it in Azure. And in Azure, we have it in Ontario and Quebec. We have the data encrypted in transit, and we have the data encrypted in the database, which is called at rest. We use all SSL to encrypt. We also audit everything that happens. So the bids and tenders has gone through KPMG and Deloitte and auditing. So every single thing is audited. Anybody touches the database, date stamp, time stamp, as well. So as far as the data is concerned, we do have people have very limited access to the data for staff, and they've been enhanced reliability secured. We do a lot of police. So I hope that answers that question.
No, that's great. Thanks. Thank you all. If members are interested in the eSolutions offerings, again, like I said, I'd encourage you to reach out to either to Karen or to Kurt. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please hit the subscribe button on AMO's YouTube channel. You will be receiving the latest updates on the activities of the association. We currently have a COVID-19 webinar series on matters that might be of interest to the sector, and you can also access past AMO webinars and updates from the AMO president on the work of our board of directors. So with that, thanks again to Kurt and to Karen and all our friends at eSolutionsGroup for the presentation, and thank you all for listening in today. And with that, take care and be well.